what were your first impressions of Japan and doing business here?
The first impressions are that Japan is a huge country, both geographically and also industrially, and in terms of market opportunity. Its sheer size means that it can be quite daunting in knowing where to start and who to start with in a country with such great opportunity, but also additional barriers which include language and distance.
And have your perceptions changed at all since you first came in until now?
Most certainly. It's taken me a while, probably 2 to 3 years to really find my feet and understand where the influences are that can help you be successful, or at least get on the path to success. And the approaches there are multiple. It's important to, I think, establish presence with partners who can give you scale to help you sell your concepts and your products. And these are localized partners, so ideally Japanese speaking, that overcomes one of the barriers, the language barriers, but also gives you that localization that's really important in Japan. But also to punch above your weight, go and see the customers, don't be afraid of approaching customers and sharing what you're doing, what your plans are, and don't be daunted by the what can seem to be the cold shoulder. It can seem they don't want to do business with you, and you may have to visit them several times before you begin to see some fruits from your labour.
And can you describe kind of what steps you took from not knowing much about the Japanese market to now making inroads and getting key contacts and things like that?
Yeah, it's leveraging every possible advantage that you can get. That means if you have contacts already in Japan, then leverage them. They may not be directly related to the business that you're in, but undoubtedly they'll be able to give you some help and some guidance, and at least help you culturally. It's leveraging organisations like UKTI and the British Embassy. I've made it a point of getting to know the staff here, not all the staff, but many of the staff who I feel can help my business, and leverage right up to the British ambassador where you can, which I have done. And that leveraging can also be applied to Japanese organisations such as JETRO and METI. Those organisations are also very helpful. They're very well funded. They have enthusiastic staff, the same as UKTI. But their mandate is to bring in and assist international companies that have advantageous technology or products that can help the Japanese economy, potentially create jobs and make Japan more competitive. And I've equally leveraged those as well. And the leveraging continues. Is find partners. You can find partners by talking to customers. Customers will have a favourite partner they like to deal with or trade with, and get those introductions, get to know them, meet with them, invest in them. Meeting with a partner can be almost more valuable than meeting with a customer sometimes, because some of the partner organisations in Japan, the trading houses, are very large, and they have many sales people in those organisations and support staff, and they can very quickly give you scale that you couldn't possibly get by trying to grow yourself organically through hiring or trying to do it yourself. I think they're the key areas to gain acceleration and momentum in Japan reasonably quickly.
Great. Sounds Very good advice. And what advice would you give to SMEs who are thinking about the Japanese market?
I think, firstly, SMEs will be generally embraced by the Japanese market, particularly the high technology segments. That they'll have advantageous products that the Japanese will be interested in, and so the advice I would give is aim for scale, leverage those organisations such as UKTI, JETRO, METI and others to give you a much larger footprint than you could possibly have as a small to medium enterprise. Small to medium enterprises will be limited by funding, will find the geographic distance between London and Japan quite daunting, but these can be overcome, and there are many partner organisations in Japan that embrace the opportunity to bring new technologies into a country, but it's down to you as the CEO or the sales vice president for your small to medium enterprise to do that selling, to sell yourself to UKTI, to sell yourself to JETRO, to sell yourself to METI, to sell yourself to the partners, and take every possible advantage to give yourself as much visibility as you possibly can.
What's been your biggest difficulty in the Japanese market, do you think, and how have you overcome it? Or have you yet?
The biggest difficulty is probably knowing where to start. Geographically, it's a huge country. It's blessed with one of the best transportation systems in the world. The Shinkansen is a dream to use, but it's still a very large country to get around, and you need to understand who you want to target, and then focus on that and really build on that. It's also diverse in terms of the number of customers that are here, and again, it's who do I choose to target first, and that really comes back to what I've said throughout the interview is give yourself scale. You can't do it on your own. Form relationships with UKTI, Japanese government organisations. Develop relationships with customers who will give you very good ideas on the right sort of partners to work with, and use those organisations and partner organisations to be your mouth and ears over here and the feet on the street, because you can't be here all the time, and if you choose wisely, then you'll feel the benefits of that after a few months. You'll begin to see that you're getting some traction. But success doesn't come quickly in Japan. It takes time. And probably that's the other difficulty that, as a Western individual, is that you need to develop a large degree of patience, and recognise that doing business in Japan is based on trust, and that trust can only come with time. Based on competence, you need to demonstrate your competence, your technical competence, your commercial competence, and that you can be trusted as a potential supplier or business partner. That's the advice I would give an SME. Japan as a target market is it has many manufacturing plants throughout the country. If you're a provider of technology, that presents tremendous opportunity. If you look at the engineering companies in Japan, Hitachi, Mitsubishi, Toshiba, Toyo, JFE and so forth, these are tremendously large organisations that have very diverse markets themselves. These Japanese organisations export internationally to China, to Southeast Asia, to Europe and to North America. If you have a product which gives them a technical advantage, then it's a great market to be considering. Japan, in my experience, is a phenomenal engineering nation, and I think for high technology companies presents a great opportunity to sell your products and services and capability into those organisations and reach out into many, many diverse markets that you couldn't possibly reach by targeting other countries. So UKTI brings a huge advantage that no other organisation in Japan can bring, and that is it's British. And that Britishness is very useful. I think the relationships between the United Kingdom and Japan are very good. Japanese people like dealing with British people, and if you can again leverage that Britishness through the British Embassy, through UKTI, through the British Ambassador, then that gives you a distinct advantage that no other organisation can possibly give you here in Japan. The challenges with doing business in Japan are, is the language barrier, and this is why it's important to establish relationships with partners who can overcome that for you, as well as those same partners can overcome the geographic distance between London and Tokyo. It's a 12-hour flight, it's an expensive flight, and there's also a time difference, and so it helps to have relationships here locally to overcome those difficulties that you wouldn't normally see in Europe, and to an extent you wouldn't see in North America. There's overcoming the natural tendency to want to rush into business and be successful here. Quite often you're asked by your boss or by others, when will you win the first deal, or when do you think you'll be successful? And the reality is that it takes time in Japan. You need to develop those relationships. You have no presence here, and so you need to develop that trust and also demonstrate the competence. I think in Europe and the US there's less of a need to do that, because the cultural boundaries are not as large, and also the language boundaries aren't as great. And for me, I think that they're the biggest challenges with and the biggest differences between doing business in Japan and doing business in Europe and North America.
Great. Last question.
Okay.
So how did you go about selecting your local partner?
Selection of partners is partly down to my own experiences in Japan over the years, is having relationships and maintaining those relationships, and picking up those relationships to either work with you directly or to advise you on who to work with. Customers are a great source of useful information. Customers, if they're speaking with you, they generally will want to do business with you at some point. But they'll want to transact with you through a good local partner that clearly is Japanese, speaks Japanese, is locally based here to give the right level of support, and is competent enough that they can support that customer correctly. And they'll advise you accordingly. And if they don't, you can ask them. You can ask a customer, if we're successful in doing business with you, who would you recommend as a partner? And I've done that, and the customers have been very forthcoming in providing that advice. And of course, you can gain this type of advice from UKTI. You can also get this advice from CiDRA. And again, it's about leveraging the different sources of helpful information in Japan and using that to your advantage, in this case helping you select partners to work with and represent your business. Yeah, in my current business, CiDRA Corporation, is an organisation that provides instrumentation systems for a range of industries, the mining industry, the energy industry, the oil and gas industry. We're a small organisation of about 150 people, so we're not an SME, but we're not a large corporation, and we yet don't have the scale to justify hiring people in Japan yet. And so to get acceleration of my business here, I've worked with UKTI in asking their advice on partners and also on potential customers, but also leverage relationships that I have here already, customers that I've known previously, and also partners that I've worked with previously, and use those relationships to give me an acceleration and an increase in scale that I couldn't possibly get if I tried to do this myself. And over the course of the last few months, it's been very exciting. We haven't won any business yet, but we're certainly heading in the right direction. Formulating great partnerships that I can rely on when I'm not here, that I can trust, to visit my customers, help them when they have problems or they have questions. As I say, it's going in the right direction. I'm excited by some of the opportunities that we have in front of us, and watch this space in a year's time. Hopefully we have some good news.